Story 1. Original post. Am I the a-hole for refusing to let my sister bring her dog to my house after what happened last time? So here's the deal. I, 30 female, host family gatherings at my house because I have the most space, and honestly, I love it. Last year, my sister, 28 female, insisted on bringing her dog, a large, hyperactive golden retriever, to Christmas dinner. I wasn't thrilled about it because I don't have pets, and I like keeping my house clean and fur-free. But I thought, okay, it's the holidays. Let's be nice. Fast forward to Christmas Day, and this dog goes absolutely berserk. It knocked over the Christmas tree, chewed up one of the gifts, a handmade scarf from my mom that took her weeks to knit, and somehow managed to jump up on the counter and eat half of the appetizers before we even sat down for dinner. I spent most of the day cleaning up after the dog and barely got to enjoy the holiday. My sister's response? He's just excited. It's Christmas after all. This year, I told her no dogs. I was polite but firm, saying we'd love to have her, but the dog needs to stay home. She got super upset, saying her dog is part of the family and it's unfair to exclude him. Now she's threatening not to come at all, and my mom is pressuring me to let the dog come so the family can be together. I told them both that I'm not changing my mind. Now I'm being called selfish and not understanding. My sister is acting like I'm banning her child or something, and I'm starting to second-guess myself. Am I the a-hole for putting my foot down? Now for the comments. Okay, don't come. Call her bluff. This is your house, not the a-hole. Absolutely. Call her bluff. And tell mom she's pressuring the wrong person. Agreed, but I'm super petty, and I'd take it up a notch. Tell your mom she's welcome to host so the whole family can be together, then gift your sister dog training for dummies and your mom cleaning supplies. Not the a-hole, your house, your rules. Also, dogs don't misbehave because they are excited about Christmas. Dogs don't know what Christmas is. Dogs misbehave because they haven't been raised well. If your sister doesn't scold the dog and teach him how he should behave, they should both stay home. And really, if he was making a mess, why wasn't the sister the one cleaning up after her own dog? The idea of leaving your host to be your servant and not enjoy the day just because you brought a troublemaker with you, human or otherwise, because this happens when people bring undisciplined kids and let them run riot too, is so rude. Hasn't anyone been taught how to be a good guest? It's not just up to the host to create a positive experience for all. Not the a-hole. Poorly trained dogs stay home. My parents are the same, and it's why their dog isn't allowed places anymore. If you can't be bothered to train your dog, then you can't bring your dog. It's not complicated. Not the a-hole. These dog weirdos must be stopped. And I love dogs. But they do not belong everywhere, especially the ill-behaved ones. I love dogs too. We have rescues and one is a handful, all 20 pounds of him. So not really an issue out walking, we just pick him up. I would never dream of asking him to be included. We have had a couple of dog trainers and a lot of improvement over the years, but I don't think we are ever going to get the point where he is 100% or we trust him to be 100%. Not the a-hole. She should understand your decision after what happened last year. And if she really wanted her dog there, she should have offered you some kind of solution, like keeping the dog in a room or on a leash. She can't just expect to bring an uneducated animal there and have you cleaning after him all day. Update. First off, thank you to everyone who offered advice and support on my original post. I was feeling a lot of pressure and was starting to second-guess myself, but I really appreciated reading all your comments. To clarify a few things before I get into the update, I don't hate dogs. I grew up with pets, but since moving into my own place, I've chosen not to have any. I also have some health concerns, allergies, which make it more difficult for me to handle dogs in an indoor environment. I love my sister, but the last time her dog was at my house, it caused major stress. Now, for the update. After my original post, I had a long conversation with my sister and mom. My sister kept saying that I was being unfair by not allowing her dog to be part of the family celebrations. She compared it to me banning her child, which I told her was a pretty extreme comparison, considering her dog is over 80 pounds, rambunctious, and wasn't exactly well behaved at my house last year. To be honest, things got a bit heated during our conversation. I tried to explain that it wasn't about her dog. It was about having a peaceful, enjoyable family gathering. My house isn't pet-proof, and I didn't want to spend the entire evening cleaning up after the dog or worrying about my guests' safety. The dog knocked over a glass of wine last year, too. But she kept saying that I was being too controlling and that I didn't care about her happiness. At this point, my mom started to get involved. She's been trying to play the family unity card, saying that my sister's dog is like a family member and that we should make exceptions to ensure everyone is happy. I held my ground, and it felt like I was in the middle of a tug of war. The next day, my sister texted me saying she would come if I made the choice to accept the dog as part of the family. Otherwise, she said, she'd just skip Christmas dinner altogether. My mom called me in tears, saying I was making the holiday divisive and that I was being difficult. Honestly, at that point, I started feeling like maybe I was being unreasonable, but I stuck to my decision. So here's what happened. My sister showed up without the dog, but she was very upset about it. She barely interacted with anyone at first and spent a lot of time on her phone. It was super awkward. By the end of the night, things had calmed down a little, and we were able to enjoy dinner. But I still feel like the tension is lingering, and I'm honestly wondering if I made the right choice. Some of the comments I received, especially about setting boundaries and considering my own well-being, made me feel better about my decision. But now that it's all over, I can't help but feel guilty for causing this rift. My sister has barely spoken to me since, and my mom is still upset. So, for the final question, did I make the right choice? Was I being unreasonable, or was I just standing up for myself? Thanks again to everyone for your advice. Now for the comments, not the a-hole. You don't want a rambunctious, ill-behaved dog in your house. If your sister wants to bring her dog to get-togethers, then she can host them at her house. My dogs are over 80 lbs. You wouldn't know we had dogs if you came over for a party. They'll say hi, but they don't beg and will go chill somewhere if things get crowded. Having well-behaved dogs is a substantial commitment on the part of the owner. Good dog training gives the dog a better life as well. And, in my opinion, anybody with a poorly behaved, untrained dog is a huge a-hole. Mine aren't great. I am working with a behaviorist. But I would never even want to take them to a family event. Ignoring the chance they would do damage to something, I wouldn't be able to relax or chill for fear they were off somewhere eating a mince pie or a pound of dark chocolate. Especially the little one. She once stole a sandwich out of someone's mouth, and while she's better than she used to be, bless the place command, I wouldn't want to test it to destruction like that. You have a very reasonable boundary. Your sister is being ridiculous. Good for you, OP, for standing strong. And your sister, in the end, managed the evening just fine, no? Other than the sulking. Please do not erase all of your hard emotional work and backslide because you want to, people, please. Your consideration is not going to be appreciated, and it would mean that any future boundary will be tantrumed over even harder. Continued not the a-hole, not the a-hole. Just remember, when someone says having a dog is like having a child, you can crate a dog for a while, but the police are called if you crate a child. Your sister is choosing family drama over being away from her dog for a few hours. I say this all the time about my pets. I can lock them up and leave them overnight, no issues. You can't do that with a kid. Unfortunately, I'm seeing a culture where they won't ever leave the dog home alone. If they have to leave it behind, they have to get a sitter. That is doing a dog a big disservice. They are a dog and need to be a dog, not a kid. Edit. I actually sometimes leave events early because I'm worried about my animals and can get a bit snippy if it lasts longer than planned and I need to get back to the animals. However, I don't bring them with me to other people's houses unless there is a very good reason, like to get a goat bred since I don't have a buck. Unfortunately, my dog got used to someone always being home. He is usually glued to my side since I work from home. I would take him to doggy playcare sometimes just to change things up. COVID made it harder because I hardly left my property for over a year, and the ranch I would take him to closed down for playcare during that time. He does get left alone for a few hours here and there. No need to be crated. He's well behaved, has free reign of the house. But he will cry. It's pretty pathetic. He does it when I work in the yard or go down to the shop, too. If I'll be gone for more than a few hours, I'll leave him with a sitter just to spare the neighbors his sob story. Unfortunately, there's no good way to untrain him of that without me leaving my home and going IDK where for IDK what purpose on a regular basis. Going to the grocery store a few times a week or medical appointments is about it. Story 2. Am I the a-hole here for telling my wife she can leave because I'm not kicking my older kids out? Hey, Reddit! I, 43 male, have been with my current wife Amanda, 42 female, for the past 6 years, and we have 2 daughters, Becca, 4 female, and Eliza, 2 female, together, while I have 2 kids from my previous marriage, Liam, 17 male, and Sage, 15 female. The divorce was less than amicable, and since my ex-wife had more money and a better-paying job, she was awarded primary custody despite me fighting it. For the last 8 years, I've had my older kids every other weekend and on Wednesdays. A few weeks ago, my older kids asked if they could live with us full-time due to issues with their stepdad. Liam especially had come to blows with him a few times, and even their mother thought it would be for the best. I did talk to my wife about it, and I know she wasn't happy as she feels uncomfortable around my older kids, although this is something she neglected to tell me until we had our first child together. Things since Liam and Sage moved in have been hard, and as much as I'd love to get some family therapy, my wife is against it, and we're on a waiting list. Before, when my kids would come over, my wife would take our daughters to her parents a lot to give us space, even though I never asked for it. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm sure being a step-parent is difficult, but my kids are really good kids. They have straight A's, lots of friends, play sports, and are incredibly respectful. I know I'm biased, but people go out of their way to tell me these things. So it has been terrible watching Amanda nitpick everything they do, almost as if she's waiting for them to slip up so she can send them back to their moms. We had already gotten into an argument over the holidays due to her trying to push them out of our traditions. Our older daughter Becca is going through a biting phase. Her school wants her to get occupational therapy, and I've been working with our insurance since Amanda doesn't like the one at the school, but as always, it seems like there's an endless wait list. So obviously the house is tense, and we've all been walking on eggshells. Then yesterday morning when I was making us some breakfast, we heard a scream, and Becca came into the kitchen crying and saying that Sage hit her. Amanda ran into the den where Liam and Sage were and started screaming at them to leave. She was obviously pissed, but Sage told her she was sorry. She had been done with the TV, so had changed it to one of the girls' shows, and Becca got excited and bit her. She said she didn't mean to slap her and felt bad. I immediately calmed down because I think anyone has been there, but Amanda didn't believe her. Sage had a bite mark, for God's sake. Things continued escalating and our girls were crying, and Amanda screamed at both of my older kids to leave. Sage told her she would, so she could calm down, and that pissed Amanda off more. Liam and Sage left for a friend's and ended up spending the night there. So for the past day, Amanda has been on one saying I needed to pack their things and send them back to my ex-wife's permanently. I can't keep dealing with this bullcrap. I told her this morning that it was an accident, and she needed to let it go, but she's refusing, even threatening to call the police. She said she could never be comfortable with her babies around Sage anymore, and that she didn't feel safe. I laughed because Amanda herself once hit Becca for biting her. She ended up taking the girls to her mom's, and I told my kids to come back. Amanda has been texting me that she'll be back tomorrow and the kids needed to be gone. I was ignoring her, but finally said this was their home, and if she was comfortable, she could pack up and leave. My parents came over and basically told me I wasn't wrong but shouldn't have said she should leave. I know there are some things you can take back, but at this point, I almost mean it. I would hate to deal with another divorce, but Amanda has been so terrible to my older kids the past few weeks. I honestly feel like she's become a different person. Edit. Just to clarify some things. When we had every other weekend plus Wednesday custody, my wife would take the girls to her parents on Wednesday only, and I would take the youngest to dinner. Before we had kids, she'd go to dinner, but our girls aren't the best at restaurants. She would be here on weekends. My son is not violent. His stepdad believed in violence as a form of punishment, which I do not and never did, but that's why they asked to live with me. Sage has gone from apologetic to fully devastated about this. She offered to go back to her mom's as long as Liam didn't have to. I told her that would never be necessary. She did not mean to hit her sister, and Becca was incredibly upset about biting her. We are working on it. But we are a single-income family, and I can't afford an occupational therapy outside of my insurance. I am probably going to utilize the school's occupational therapy, though despite what Amanda said. Also, our youngest was not planned, but things seemed to be getting better, so we were excited. I did get a vasectomy after that, but I love all my children. Now for the comments. I get the feeling that your wife was expecting you'd move on from your older kids once you and she had your children together. That they would be your new family, and you'd just forget the first one. If she'd succeeded, you would have become the divorced dad trope that I loathe reading about on Reddit. She underestimated your commitment to your children. She expected you to choose her. It's important to show all 4 of your kids that they'll be in your top priorities always. Not the a-hole, sounds like you're doing it right. I told her up front it would never happen. She brought up having them move out at 18, and I told her that was trashy and loser parent behavior, and she flipped out at me. I will never abandon my kids. I'm sorry to say, dude. I think that your wife's view of your older kids may make you two fundamentally incompatible. 1. I could never, ever be with a person who abandoned their or expected me to abandon my children for the relationship. I'm a gay guy, and my long-term partner is also childless. 2. Someone who feels the need to compete with a child for attention isn't someone I'd keep in my orbit either. If I were in your shoes, I'd tell her to stay at her mother's and work out a custody agreement during the separation and divorce. But that's me. Thank you for this. She is competing with OP's children. She is forcing an ultimatum and she will lose. Just that she waited until after round 2 was born to tell you she doesn't like them? She was always hoping they would fade away? They didn't. She wants OP to choose. I too will always choose my children. What kind of person asks that? Not the a-hole. This woman doesn't want your children in the family. You do not have a choice at this point. Your wife is against therapy and doesn't want to work through this. Your older children must be so confused and feel the constant rejection from your wife, let alone their mother. One question I have is, why did your wife always feel uncomfortable? What did they do specifically? If nothing, she just doesn't want a blended family. When we first got together, she was great to them. It was after we had our first daughter that she got cold towards them. She tells me it's unfair to have to live with kids that aren't hers, and has told me I need to prioritize our family. It's more than just frustrating. Not the a-hole. As a stepmom, I hate people like your wife. She's the type that gives us a bad name. She needs to leave. Protect your children. She conveniently waited until she had her own kid to show who she really was. She is not a good person. She's got other reasons for hating your kids. Reasons that are on her, and she's making them out to be the problem. This won't end well unless she realizes it. Prepare for the worst, but stick up for your kids because this will get tricky. I've asked her for things that we could do to make this transition easier for her, and it feels like she won't be happy until my kids are out of the house. I have told her that wouldn't happen. Story 3. Am I the a-hole for not returning the company laptop on their timeline after I was let go? About 2 weeks ago, I got laid off a job I had just started in the summer, due to budget cuts from our client, or so I've been told. Not only did I lose my job right before the holidays, I was also a week from being eligible for severance, so I didn't get any. They sent boxes to ship back 2 monitors and a company laptop, remote work. I constantly got teased over by my former boss. He would always, unprompted, make remarks with a snarky tone like, "Damn, Jenny, we all can't have new shiny laptops like you." Or, "If I had you laptop, I could do X better than anyone else," etc. Environment was kind of toxic. Anyway, a box arrived last week, and I requested for them to schedule a pickup since it's huge, and my only option would be to lift out of my own pocket to a FedEx, which I absolutely won't do. The earliest date for pickup would be today, December 27th, which didn't work for me because I'm away for the holidays, and their response was, "Well, can't you come back to hand off the box?" Answer was no, but they could schedule the pickup up anytime after January 5th when I'm back home. I got roped into an email chain with HR, IT, and some other people, where they're saying I must return it before the new year because former boss returned his laptop to the IT company, expecting to have mine ready to work by the time the holiday break is over, and he couldn't otherwise do this job. I told them, respectfully, that that wasn't really my problem, which I might be an asshole for, but I also think they're being unreasonable expecting me to cut my family time to return this box during the holidays. I just hope to not get in any legal trouble for it. Never been in this situation before. But I really don't think I should be accommodating them like that. Am I being too petty? Now for the comments. Well, can't you come back to hand off the box? Why don't I first fax over a contract for you to pay all travel expenses incurred, plus a pay rate of $100 an hour for any and all travel time related to the return of your laptop? Are you kidding me? Of course you're not the a-hole. They fired you just before Christmas, and your boss clearly did it because he's obsessed with your laptop. That's what baffles me. Why couldn't they wait until they had my laptop back so they could do the switch? Now they're trying to guilt-trip me he won't be able to work. Well, guess what, B? I can't do my job either because I have none LOL. Not the a-hole. We need that laptop back by New Year. I missed the part where that's my problem. What are they gonna do, fire you? I'd double-check any papers or emails for anything with a must-return by X date, apart from that email chain mentioned in your post before making a hill to die on. Yes, that's a great point. I did check, and the exit paperwork says I should return any equipment within 30 days of employment being terminated. The week of January 6th is well within that window. In that case, I'd wait until day 29 just to be petty. Not the a-hole. They can't expect you to return from out of town to do this. Was there anything in your agreement with them that went over return of equipment? Exit paperwork says all equipment should be returned within 30 days of termination, which gives me until January 13th to return it. I told them I could do the week of the 6th, and they were giving me attitude about it. Photocopy, highlight that, and copy it back to everyone harassing you. Also state any further contact about an earlier date will be taken as harassment, and charges will be filed with the Labor Relations Board or the equivalent in your country.
Thank you for listening. If you like the video, consider like and subscribe. If you want more stories like these, turn on your notification to receive the latest stories.